Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military Summary channel. In this short video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous night of the local time. We have a lot of very interesting updates, so let's start. First let's talk about Kharkiv direction. During the previous night we got report that the Russians launched another offensive operation in direction of the village by the name of Ternova. So the Russians basically are trying to improve their positions and to connect two front lines, the western Kharkiv direction front line and the eastern Kharkiv direction front line. Furthermore, the Russians are trying to cut supply and support of Ukrainian forces that are taking place between Liptsi, Veselye, Ternova, Izbitskaya and then the Oskol River. So we'll see what is going to be next. Currently we haven't received any geolocations confirming this, but probably during the upcoming day we're going to receive additional updates from the Ukrainian side. Now let's move further to the northern Kupiansk direction. We will also continue receiving different updates. The Russians, according to information we have, continue offensive operation in the village by the name of Rozovka, and as a result of clashes during the previous day, they managed to increase the area under their control up to 50%. On the other hand, the Russians continue bombing and attacking the Ukrainian positions in the village by the name of Stelmakhovka. So everything says that in the very near future, the Russians are about to launch a full-scale assault operation in direction of Stelmakhovka with the purpose to force the Ukrainians to fall back and to establish complete control over the territory. We have some activity in the vicinity of Liman. The Russians published a few Lancet strike. The Russians published few videos of destroyed howitzers and armored vehicles on the direction. So the Russians are very active on this direction, so we may consider these things as artillery preparation before further offensive operation, before, let's say, renewal of offensive operation on this direction as well. Now let's move further to the south. So we haven't received almost anything from Chasov Yar direction as well as from Klishchevka. The very interesting updates are coming from Avdiivka territory. According to information we have, according to different mappers, the Russians managed to improve their positions between Ocheretina, Novoalexandrovka and Kalynove, and as a result of Russian attack they managed to improve their positions and to capture additional tree lines, and currently this is approximately the territory that is already under Russian control according to different mappers. Of course, significant progress for the Russians. They were moving something like this. Now the Russians control the stronghold among the field. This is not a very big stronghold, but a very, let's say, important stronghold and very important base before further offensive operation, possible offensive operation to Kalynove and to this stronghold as well. Maybe the Russians are not going to move further, but they're planning just to secure the northern flank before further offensive operation deep inside of Novoalexandrovka. This is also a possible solution, or maybe the Russians are planning to move in both directions. Also, we have additional updates from Sokol. The Russians are getting closer and closer to the village. Today we got the video that, according to the author of this video, the Ukrainians, the soldiers of 47th Mechanized Brigade, were abandoning their positions under very heavy artillery fire from the Russian side. So in this video we can see the movements of the Ukrainians from these three lines, from this area towards the village by the name of Sokol. So the Ukrainians were moving something like this, maybe not to the village of Sokol, but maybe further to the west in direction of Evgenievka. So this video most likely confirms that during the next few days, or maybe today, we're going to receive additional updates of Russian control over this territory as well. This is exactly the territory that the Russians are attacking right now. This is very important foothold, and if the Russians are able to capture the territory, this will cause significant problems for the Ukrainians further to the west in the vicinity of the villages Evgenievka, Voshod, Progress and Vovcha. Furthermore, pro-Ukrainian mappers confirms additional Russian progress in direction of the village by the name of Novopokrovskaya. So the Russians are pushing and pushing and pushing, and the Russians, of course, it's not so fast. They're, let's say, Russian working not so fast as they used to in December, January and February and March of 2023. But the Russians continue offensive. Now let's move further to the south in direction of Krasnogorovka. The also pro-Ukrainian mappers confirm additional progress of the Russians in the fields, and according to information we have, currently the line of combat contact goes along Sumskaya Ulitsa. So this is the Sumskaya street, and summarizing everything, this is approximately the line of combat contact and the territory that is already under Russian control. Yet we haven't received any geolocations confirming this, but this information was provided provided by pro-Ukrainian mappers Deep State. Anyway, significant progress. The Ukrainians are forcing to fall back, and now the Ukrainians control most of the low-rise building area and just few blocks with high-rise buildings. During the previous night, we continue receiving updates about control over the village by the name of Georgievka. These Russian sources started publishing this information yesterday, yet we haven't received any geolocations confirming this, but most likely during the upcoming few days, we are going to receive final confirmation, and then they will adjust the map and the color of the territory under Russian control. We haven't received almost anything from Konstantinovka, Novomikhailivka area, but we have significant number of geolocations from the fields between Vladimirovka, Pavlovka, Mykolska, Ugledar and Vodyane. The Russian sources published the videos of significant number of FPV drone strikes and work of snipers in the area, which confirms the certain Russian focus and attempts to clear the territory before further offensive operation. From this configuration of the front line, it's obvious that most likely the Russians during the next few weeks or days will try to cut this salient, this artillery pocket, to maintain the line of combat contact, to shorten this same line and to get closer to the T-0524 road. When talking about Vremivka tactical bridge, we haven't received anything as well. We haven't received anything from Zaporozhye. Few important updates are coming from Kherson direction. During the previous night, some Russian groups, some Russian squads on this direction published the post that the Ukrainian side of Dnipro River is completely empty. Most of the forces, most of the brigades were redeployed somewhere, and most likely they were redeployed to Kharkiv area. So, as we discussed yesterday, the Russians, almost without any resistance and any problems from the Ukrainian side, managed to restore positions in the vicinity of the village by the name of Dacha. So we have adjusted the map. Most likely the Russians continue improving their positions, and once again, most likely due to complete lack and absence of Ukrainian forces on this direction, the Russians may try to make something bigger, like to cross Dnipro and to establish, let's say, foothold or some footholds on the Ukrainian side of the river. On the other hand, the Russians continue bombing and attacking the Ukrainian forces in Stanislav, so the Russians continue pummeling and reducing to ruins the Ukrainian positions along Dnipro River and Dnipro estuary, preparing the foothold for possible offensive operation. Very interesting details we got from Odessa. As a result of night missile strike, the Russians destroyed, damaged another building that, according to information we have, the Ukrainians were using for concentration of forces. The Ukrainians should prepare for a very difficult winter. According to information we have, during the upcoming, let's say, winter in January of 2025, most of Ukrainians will have electricity just from 2 till 4 hours a day. So it's going to be critical, and most likely during the upcoming winter we are going to see another wave of migration and another wave of attempt from the Ukrainian side to leave the territory of Ukraine in direction of European Union. But most likely most of the men would be captured. Maybe women would be able to cross to do this. Furthermore, during the upcoming day, there are going to be also, let's say, blackouts in Ukraine. Around 12 regions in Ukraine will be for a very long time without electricity during the next upcoming day. Very important statements we received during the previous day, during the previous night from Vladimir Putin. He was interviewed and he gave us a lot of very interesting information. Putin reported that Ukraine loses around 50,000 soldiers, let's say, a month, but the Ukrainians can mobilize just around 30,000 people a month. So as we can see, based on the simple mathematics, the Ukrainians are not able to fulfill the losses by mobilization. So that's why the Ukrainians are trying to increase the mobilization process and to recruit even more and mobilize even more than they do right now. Furthermore, according to Putin, United States of America insists and try to force Ukraine to reduce the age, let's say mobilization age till 18s, and this will allow them to increase the mobilization and to increase the Ukrainian army. But also Putin stated that if Ukraine does this, then most likely United States of America will remove Zelensky as soon as Ukrainians Europeans adopt, let's say, these proper laws. Furthermore, we got additional updates about the Western weapon and the possible sending by Russia the weapon of Russian Federation to the regions to attack the NATO forces and the forces of countries that sent weapons to Russia. Currently, we don't know for sure where exactly Russia is going to send weapon, but most likely, if Putin start talking about this, most likely some countries have already received Russian weapon, and most likely during the next few days or weeks we're gonna see the use of them against the NATO and the Western countries, or at least the weapon of these countries. Furthermore, Russia decided to call the emergency United Nations Security Council to discuss the permissions of Western countries to Ukraine to bomb the territory of Russian Federation. So this is just a regular legal procedure. Obviously, Russia understand what the results they're going to see on this council. Most likely, most of the solutions would be blocked by the Western countries, and after that, most likely the Russians will announce or the first attacks against the NATO countries we're going to see with the use of Russian weapon. So, and that's it for the short video. Military Summary channel reminds we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.